Why do we sleep? I mean, why do we waste 8 hours of our day every single day just lying in bed and not moving? Now, obviously you can't just stay awake, right? Because eventually you're gonna get tired, and if you keep trying to stay awake, eventually you're just gonna pass out. Well, in a nutshell, our sleep is basically our body's way to recover. It's our way for our mind and our body to rest and relax and get ready to take on another day. Our sleep is very important, and we just cannot live without it. And sleeping just keeps you healthy, and it can actually help you fight off diseases. And actually, our sleep might even prevent cancer. The World Health Organization and the International Agency for Research on Cancer, or the IARC for short, the IARC has actually come out and said that working night shifts is now a Category 2A carcinogen. And if you don't know what a carcinogen is, that means something that can cause cancer. And this category of 2A means that working a night shift is probably a carcinogen. So that's pretty scary. And now, if you think about those residents or other people that work these night shifts, we have a lot of people that work night shifts. And if you're asking someone who wants to be a doctor, and they have to go through med school where they go through these rotations, and a lot of them end up having to go on night shifts, and same thing with residency, a lot of them have to work night shifts. Now you're having to ask them to potentially get cancer to become a doctor. That's just crazy. Now, what's behind all this? Like, why is working a night shift so different than working during the daytime? Because if you work a night shift, you can still sleep. You just sleep during the daytime. So what's the big deal here? Well, the obvious thing you're changing is the time of your sleep. Like, even if you're sleeping during the day, you're not sleeping like you're supposed to. Basically, if you're working a night shift, your sleep cycle is screwed. Guys, we are not owls. We were not meant to be nocturnal. Our bodies have this internal clock, and this internal clock tells us when it's time to go to sleep and tells us when it's time to wake up. And this internal clock is also called our circadian rhythm. So our circadian rhythm is our whole thing that's controlling our sleep cycle. And another component that plays into this is light. Now, whether it be artificial or natural sunlight, like from your phone versus from the sun, these both will play a part in our sleep cycle. Specifically, light plays a role with our hypothalamus. And our hypothalamus is basically a very specific area that's in our brain. And this very particular part of our brain can tell us whether it's daytime outside or it's nighttime outside. Now let's think about a night shift worker. Well, a night shift worker is basically nocturnal because they're working during the nighttime. And they're also sleeping during the daytime. So they rarely see any sunlight, and during the nighttime when everyone else is sleeping, that's when they're awake. So all they see is really darkness. So now let's go back to this particular part in our brain that regulates our internal clock. When it's nighttime, this part of our brain secretes a hormone called melatonin. And this hormone makes you more sleepy. But if you're a night shift worker and you're seeing this darkness and you're getting this hormone released, now you're being forced to stay awake because you have to work. And it's the same thing during the daytime. When it's daytime outside, this area of our brain will secrete a hormone called cortisol. And this cortisol hormone is what wakes us up. Like, when you're really groggy, you just get out of bed, and then you open the blinds and you see the sunlight, and then you start waking up. That's this hormone working. So now if we go back to this night shift worker, now they see this daylight outside, and they have this cortisol hormone being released, but now it's time for them to go to sleep. So basically, no matter what their body's telling them to do, they're doing the exact opposite. So you can see that it's a lot more than just sleeping 8 hours, right? You have to make sure that you're matching your body's internal clock. And how much sleep do we really need? Well, on average, adults will need between 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And if you think that's a lot, well, kids need a lot more sleep. I used to think that this was all bogus. I used to think that I could get by on 3 hours of sleep and I could function just fine. And that's actually how I was in high school, college, and even in dental school. And looking back, I don't even know how I functioned like that, but there were plenty of times where I stayed up super late because I thought I was being super productive when really I wasn't really doing anything, and I got barely any sleep. And every single day, I was just dragging my feet along. And then when I got a consistent sleep schedule and I started sleeping more, I started to really see the difference. And it's not just about functioning well the next day, right? Sleep can do a lot more than that. And there's actually a lot of problems that can come with sleep loss. And some of these issues include showing signs of ADHD, getting cancer, gaining weight, diabetes, fertility issues, weakening our immune system, and even damage to our DNA. So what are some things that are just killing the way that you sleep? Well, I'm gonna go over 9 of the biggest ones in this video. Number 1 is taking naps. Look, I don't think naps are that bad. And if they work for you, great. I don't want you to change what you're doing. But I really want you to look at why do you even need a nap in the first place? Like, are you not sleeping enough the night before? Or if you are sleeping 8 hours, then how come you need a nap the next day? Like, how come you're getting so tired in the middle of the day that you have to nap in order to function? Maybe your sleep isn't that good. Maybe you're not getting quality sleep. Maybe you're in a situation where you don't get that much sleep every night, and the only way you can recover is by taking a nap in the middle of the day. If that works for you, then great. I would just advise you to not take this nap too late in the day. I don't know if you've tried napping like late in the evening and then trying to go to sleep a few hours later. It doesn't really work out too well because now you always end up staying up way too late. You're just tossing and turning in bed. I don't know if this happened to you, but every time I've done this, this has happened to me. Our second thing that's killing the way that you sleep is not getting enough sunlight. So if you're one of those people that gets to work from home, lucky you. But if you're working from home, that means it's very easy for you to sit in bed all day, to wear your PJs all day. You're still making money because you're still working, but you never really have to go outside. You can get by just fine just staying at home all day. Well, that's great and that sounds amazing. That's really gonna do some harm to your body because you're never going outside and you're never exposing your body to sunlight. How is your body supposed to know if it's daytime or nighttime? Because you're never being exposed to the outside world. Over time, this is gonna mess up your body's internal clock, or again, your circadian rhythm. And it's really gonna mess up your sleep. So if this sounds like you, just go outside, go for a walk, just do something outside, at least a little bit every day. Number 3 is you do not have a sleep schedule. Again, it goes back to our body's internal clock. We want to keep this really consistent because if it's consistent, then our body knows when it's time to go to sleep, when it's time to wake up. And if we do this, then it's going to be really easy for our body to go to sleep every day, and it's going to be really easy for our body to wake up every day. It's just a routine. Instead, if you have some days where you're going to sleep at 3 a.m., and you have other days where you're going to sleep at 6 a.m., other days you're going to sleep at 11 p.m., your body's going to be a little confused. Number 4, the fourth thing that's killing your sleep is you are breathing through your mouth. Look, I could spend a whole hour talking about this topic alone, but I'm not going to because I don't want to bore you. Instead, I do have some links to other videos where I talked about mouth breathing, and I'm putting those links in the description below. But one of the biggest issues with breathing through your mouth versus breathing through your nose is you do not get enough oxygen when you breathe through your mouth. Now, don't get me wrong. If you breathe through your mouth, you're not going to die. You can still get enough oxygen to live. But if you breathe through your nose, you're getting way more oxygen, and a lot more of this oxygen is able to go to your organs and to the rest of your body. And really the difference here is when you breathe through your mouth, you are taking way more frequent and faster breaths. Versus when you breathe through your nose, you're taking slower, less frequent breaths. And when you take these slower, less frequent breaths, it allows that oxygen to spend more time in our body, and in doing so, it gives more time for this oxygen to get absorbed. Versus breathing through your mouth, where you're just getting rid of that oxygen right away. The other issue with mouth breathing, since you're not getting as much oxygen as you would with breathing through your nose, now you're not going to be able to sleep as well either. Because since your brain's not getting enough oxygen, you're not going to be able to get to those later stages of your sleep cycle. And if you can, it's going to be a lot harder. We basically have 4 stages to our sleep cycle. And as you sleep and get later in these stages, your sleep gets deeper and deeper. And eventually you fall into REM sleep. And REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep, is where our dreams occur. And every single one of these stages of sleep is very important. So if you're missing 1 or 2 of these stages very consistently, then you're going to be missing out on a lot of the recovery that happens when you sleep. Like for example, REM sleep, or where our dreaming occurs, is very important to making memories. So if you are a mouth breather, you most likely are missing out a lot on this REM sleep, meaning you do not dream as much as you're supposed to. And if this is the case, then you're probably going to show a lot of the signs and symptoms of memory loss. And you're probably going to feel like you have amnesia. But really, you're just missing out on this part of your sleep. This is why it's so important to complete a full sleep cycle. Because if you miss certain parts of the sleep cycle, then you're going to be missing on a lot of these benefits. And that's a real issue when people have sleep apnea. And if you don't know what sleep apnea is, it's basically when you cannot get a full sleep cycle. Because every night when you sleep, your sleep is interrupted because you stop breathing. And when you stop breathing, your body wakes you up because it wants you to start breathing again. It thinks you're dead. And if you're wondering why, well, I explained that in one of my videos, and I'm putting the link to that video in the description below as well. But you're kind of getting the gist of it. Mouth breathing is terrible for you. and it's definitely gonna ruin your sleep. The fifth thing that's killing your sleep is you are stuffing your face right before you go to bed. So here's a scenario. You're getting ready for bed and you're about to go to sleep, but then you remember that you didn't really eat that much for dinner and you weren't hungry then, but now you're starving. So what are you gonna do? I'm gonna go downstairs, I'm gonna have a nice big steak, I'm gonna have some mashed potatoes, I'm gonna have some asparagus on the side, and I'm gonna have a full 5-course meal, and I'm gonna sleep great. Now you may think you're gonna sleep great, and you might wanna pass out after that meal anyway, but really after this meal, your GI is gonna be working. And your GI, or your gastrointestinal system, is what digests your food. Now if you have this GI system that's working while you're trying to sleep, this is gonna mess with your sleep. And also, while you're having this big 5-course meal, don't drink too much water with it either. And I know water is good for you and you probably should be drinking water with your meals, but if you drink too much, you might have to wake up in the middle of the night to go pee. Now this may not seem like a big deal, but again, you are messing up your sleep cycles. A perfect sleep would be you sleep from point A to point B with very minimal interruptions, and you're able to get these full sleep cycles. But if you're waking up in the middle of the night to go pee, now you're messing up one of these sleep cycles. And while we're talking about drinking beverages, one drink you want to avoid before you go to sleep is alcohol. And this actually brings us to number 6. If you drink alcohol before you go to bed, it can definitely make you fall asleep quickly. And you may think that's great news, but now that you've put this poison inside of your body, that means your liver is going to work to metabolize it. And as your liver is working, that's gonna prevent you from going into deeper sleep. It's gonna prevent you from going into REM sleep. And again, you're gonna be missing out on a lot of these important recovery times when you're sleeping. The 7th thing that's messing up your sleep is your bedroom is whack. Yes, I said it, your bedroom is whack. You might be wondering, what's making my bedroom whack? Well, the first thing is your bedroom's way too warm. If you're sweating in the middle of the night, something's wrong. You actually want to turn that thermostat down a little bit before you go to sleep. And the reason is when you go to sleep, your body temperature naturally gets lower. And if you already set your thermostat a little bit lower, now you're helping your body get to that temperature faster. And that means you're gonna fall asleep faster. Wanna know why else your bedroom sucks? Well, your bed sucks. Look, I think one of the best investments you can make is a brand new bed that you like. You don't want to be sleeping on that college dorm room bed for the rest of your life. Yeah, it was fine in college when you didn't really need to sleep that well because you were younger, but as you get older, you should definitely invest in your sleep. Look, that's just my opinion. I don't like to skimp out when it comes to health stuff. If something's gonna help my health overall, I definitely wanna invest in it, and I would urge you to do the same. Number 8 is you have way too many gadgets. How are you supposed to sleep when you have your MacBook, your iPhone, your iPad, all right around you, and you're trying to sleep, but you keep checking TikTok, you keep checking Instagram Reels, and you keep seeing all the latest stuff that your friends have posted on social media? When it's time to sleep, I want all this stuff away from you. Because first of all, when you're looking at these devices, that light is getting into your eyes. And now your body's getting kind of confused because 1, it's nighttime outside, but 2, you're getting this light emitted from your phone. So your body's kind of confused, it's getting mixed signals. Is it nighttime or is it daytime? Should I be awake or should I be asleep? This is all just gonna prevent you from going to sleep. And also, a lot of this social media stuff will just increase your anxiety. You wanna make sure you're relaxed before you go to sleep. And this actually brings us to our number 9, last point, and the last thing that's killing the way that you sleep is you are not relaxing before you go to sleep. You can't just go from working all day and all stressed out to plopping on the bed and immediately falling asleep. If you've tried that before, it doesn't work. Have you ever tried sleeping while you're restless, while you're anxious, while you're stressed out about something? It doesn't happen. You're up for hours and you're wondering why you keep thinking about the same thing. You can't just get it off your mind. I remember this happened to me before I took my DAT. Now the DAT is your dental admission test. And this is what you have to take before you apply for dental school. Before I took this test, I was so stressed out. And I thought I was really prepared. I thought I was gonna be fine. But the night before the test, I went to sleep and I was definitely gonna get well over 8 hours of sleep if I fell asleep at the right time. My exam was early the next morning and I definitely wanted to be all refreshed and ready to go. I ended up only sleeping about 20 to 30 minutes. Why? I don't know, I just couldn't sleep. I was just so stressed out about the exam, about how I might fail, and then I kept looking at the clock, and I'm like, oh, I just lost another hour, and I got even more stressed out because I was losing sleep every single hour that I couldn't sleep. This is why it's so important to clear your mind and to just relax before you go to sleep. If your body is already in this relaxed state, it's gonna help you so much because your body understands it's time to relax and forget about all the nonsense. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked that video, and if you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel below. I'll see you in the next video.